Right, okay, so we've got this back off, and as you can see, we have a perfect panel line running right in there, so that's no problem. And then obviously on the underside, this area, you can see all the panel lines are back in there, ready to go. So what we can actually do now is get the gear on. Want to get the gear on because I just want to get it off the floor, if we're honest, all right? So what we've got is a situation of, we start with the main gear first. If I tilt it somewhat this way, what you've got, we've done the wheels already, and we put the little white stripes on and the various things with that one, so we're all happy. So the way that these actually go in there, there's actually a nice little slot, you can see it just down in there, so you can sort of rotate these in and in they fit, and they just drop in like that. So that's actually not a bad sort of secure area for it. Then what you've got to do is get your left and rights around the right way for this. And to be honest, you can probably see on here, you've got a big area and a small area, so you can see how those will go in. And again, that's the other side then, so that must be this one. So then this will come in, get this round all the right way if we have. Got to make sure. Yep, we're all good. Okay, so what happens is this little guy comes in, and it will fit then down into those two locating areas, not to get confused with that front one, because obviously that is somewhat different, right? And then with both of these in, what you can do is, let's grab my magnifier so I can see, you can then line up all three type joins on this one. So you've got a flat one to the rear there, and then this one goes in the front, so they're all looking literally, if we get it in here, again it's a little bit tricky to try and hold and show all at the same time, but hopefully it will just hold there. So it's all literally like that. So again, this is the bit now. So depending which way you actually want to do this, so what I'm going to do, and this is just to make sure we're all on the right page here, we're going to glue down the bottom first. So we're just going to come in with a little bit of quick set, just so the capillary action will go in and will weld up and do its bit. So we're going to go one each side just down in there, just to pop that all in there. Grab a pair of tweezers, and just for the moment we're just going to give this a little bit of a nudge just to put that all in there, and we're going to let it bite just for a couple of minutes just to get a bit of a firm grip in there. So as that one's doing, we can pop the other side in as well. That one fits in there just as nice, and then again pop this one in on this side. Getting a grip. And again, we're just going to put in a little bit of glue just to start the biting process, because we want these to be in here and square. That's good. So that's all going. Then what we can do is just rotate these and bring it all in. So again, that's in there. And don't forget, you can do this quite happily. You just touch and don't brush. That way the glue will go in, it will do all its bit, and then hopefully it will lock in and everything. Now for the moment, we're not gluing the main part in, purely because we might have to move this and get this all sort of jigged around and stuff to make sure we've got all the wheels and everything hitting home. Again, I'm just going to come with a couple of those, and to be honest, this one looks a far nicer join just down in here. So whilst that's all drying, we can then turn our attention to the nose gear, and the nose one fits very nicely onto this peg. Now this is, to be honest, one of those where we will pre-glue. Don't worry about the paint, you're dealing with a weld action glue, it will melt physical paint off, so we're not worried about that. So we're just going to put a little bit just down on each side down in here. And then again, you've got these 3 points down in here. I've got to go into all 3 underneath. So we're just going to try and get those all in first. I'll attempt to. That's it. So we've sort of got all 3, I think, down in there. And then once they're in, then we can pull this onto this front peg, if it's going to go. Come on. So just a little bit tight in here. So just trying to get all of those into position, and then just down over this guy, and then we want to get it pushed on to here. Oh, it's a very, very tight fit. It's one of those where I wish I'd tested it first, but we're hopeful that the weld action glue will soften the area around the gear and will help just nudge that down and in. Okay, so that's in just like that, and it's all into position. So what we can do now is flip this over, and then hopefully, we're not a tail sitter, we're going to pop this down onto its gear, and then we're going to get down and have a look and just see how it's all sitting. So we want all the wheels to be sitting perfectly, and to be honest, and amazingly, they are. So we're happy with that. So I think we're all good. So what we're going to do, we're just going to leave it for around about 10 minutes in that position, just so everything can dry and lock in. All the wheels are touching the ground, which is the main thing, and they're all flat and even. So nothing's towing in, nothing's towing out, and that's because the glue's a little bit soft, so it can just find its own weight, get its weight on wheels and everything else like that. But by no means a tail sitter, which was my main concern, so we're good for that one. So we're just going to let that sit there, get a bit of a bite, and then what we'll do is we'll flip it over once it's in position, and the main pegs from the main gear that sort of slide in first, that we haven't glued, they'll get a drop of glue in there as well, just to hold them all into position and to lock it into place. But for the moment, we just need it to sort of firm up, so when we do add glue into those areas, it doesn't just suddenly move off and be fine. So we give that around about 10 minutes, flip it over, another bit of glue in those, then we're going to leave it for a good couple of hours to totally go off. It can totally dry it and everything. Then we're going to come back and we're going to start adding some of the details. So we'll get obviously the doors on, we're going to put on the pitot tubes, we'll get the speed brakes put on, this, that and the other, all on those. And in the meantime, we can get on with the actual missile itself. Right, okay, so we're really starting to push forward on this one. So we've got the gear on, gear's in, and it's happy, and it's all touching the floor, and yeah, amazingly. Normally, I call it dog legging, is that if you've got multiple bogeyed undercarriage like this, you're always going to get one that's just slightly off and there's a wheel off the ground and all the rest of it. Now, I'm not saying it's my fantastic building skills, I'm sure it's Airfix's engineering, but the way it goes in makes it a nice positive fit. But again, we did do this thing, as you probably noticed, of putting it down whilst the glue's still soft, so that time it's got time to get weight on wheels, bed down, sit there nice and flush and everything. So that way, because the glue's a little bit soft, it might just nudge it into the right direction. Yeah, if you'd had it up here in the air drying, as you might do, the trouble you can find, you put it over and it is dog legging and all the rest of it. That said, we did make a huge error, and that's what you get for not following the instructions. So what we've ended up doing is we've pushed on, and obviously we've got the gear installed, which is what we did over here. So we went down and we put all the gear in, but we forgot about this up here, where the actual back piece of the wheel system, of the actual door cover, the main gear sort of leg covers if you like, needs to go in first. So actually where that is if we just bring this around here so you can see it a little bit better, if we get this all in, is just down at the back here. Hopefully you can see it. It goes in. What happens is that this piece has got a tooth and it's keyed and everything, and it goes in and locks in first, so it's all in the proper place. So now what this actually means is we can't get it in. So we're going to have to do just a little bit of surgery to get this in. So what we'll do is we're just going to come along with our snips, and we're just going to literally cut the end off like that. So we've still got some little tabs, so we can still play, and then what we can actually do is just come along in here and poke them down in the two slots, which is where it would come up with in the first place, which is, to be honest, really nice, and it does fit in there and it isn't really a problem. So what I'm going to do is we'll actually fix this properly in. So what we're going to do, just going to grab a bit of the old quick set glue, or weld action glues, and again, don't worry about putting it near painted surfaces or anything. As long as you don't brush it, you'll be fine. These do go down flush, so what we'll do, we'll just fit that in so it is flush. So looking just to bite, and they angle just a little bit to the rear. So there we go, it's installed in there and we're absolutely fine and we're okay. So we dodged a bullet with that one, which is absolutely fine. So further on till we got the main gear, what we've got is these. So it's a little bit different way of doing it. You have got these little slots, little keys on the bottom here. That's going to go in these little keys along here, and you've got these little feet to show how these are actually fit in. So these literally is one of the nicest fits I've seen. Again, clever engineering. Well done, Airfix. You're really doing very well here. It is mindful though to get these around the right way, because as you can see there's a long one and there's a short one. So if you got them around the wrong way, they're not going to fit. But basically, you see the little holes down in there. These just come in. And then one goes in one hole. If I can get it to go in. One goes in the other. And then hopefully it will just rise along, and actually it holds itself, which is the incredible thing to this. So all we're going to do, we're going to come along with a bit of this, and we're just going to put a tiny bit in each hole, just like that. That will do the job. And then just to make sure it's in here, it's not going anywhere. And again, this is a one-touch wonder with this. Just come along and we're just going to tap, and we're going to tap. We can probably actually now zip the glue underneath there, and we'll pull it along just in there. We are going to do a little bit of an oil wash down in there just to grind that up a little bit and just to bring that to life. But anyway, you get the sort of answer with that one. Next up, we got the speed brake area, which is this one just here, and that's as straightforward. So just make sure you got your sort of left and rights round the right way. So we got the door, we're doing ours in the open position. So what we're going to do, a little bit of glue in one, a little bit of glue in two, and this little guy is just going to come along. It sits in and it's vertical. Okay, it won't take long to bite. And again, we're going to give a little bit of oils on these. So we just want them to be 90 degrees straight up from the back, because they are slightly deflected. So we end up with that type of angle on the bottom. But as you can see, they're nice and clean at the moment, so we need to take care of that. So that's those on, so that's really nice. Last up, we've got the actual pitos going in. Now, we were a little bit worried about these, and you might remember we painted these white whilst we were doing everything else, and this is the one we've done here. So what we've done is we've just done the front end of it actually in silver just to do the job, and we've done the other one for the bottom as well. And then hopefully this will then just be a straightforward fit into these, and if it follows like the other side, it goes in, and then just give it a nudge and it fits beautifully. And again, just to weld those in, a little bit of glue, one pass only please, and there it is. They are fitted in there just like that, and in there. So they're in there looking very, very nice. And whilst we're here, we might as well do this little guy, which is the one that's going to go under here. So we just test fit it first, and it does. Make sure, always test fit everything, even little jobs like that, because you don't want them to come back and bite you, where suddenly you find, you try to place it in there and it doesn't go, or for whatever reason. So all we want to do with that one is make sure it's facing straight down. So that's those all on there now, just like that. Hand in there. They're all in. So gear in, main gear, all the rest of it looking very, very nice. Simple job just like that. Again, the front gear, to be honest, goes exactly the same way. So again, we've got to put those on in a moment. A couple of little tips though. Painting on the sprue. So as you can see just down in here, I like to paint on the sprue with these little things because it's just really easier. So we just done them all down there. And I have got these, if we ever wanted to close these up, we can ping them off and we can close them up if we wanted to. And the same goes with the small parts down in here. We've got these actuators, you can see I painted them all on the sprue. So what you basically do is cut them all off and clean them up, but just leave one connection point where you're going to glue. So we're going to glue these, so that's why we've done it that way. So we can actually cut these off now, and again there's a longer one and a short one, and we'll get the main doors on that one as well. So that's pretty good, no problem with that as well. So as you can see, she's really starting to take shape now. The top doors again will be exactly the same way as well, so those doors will go in same way as we did the other ones. For those speed brakes, we can put those on, as is same with all the aerials going to go on as well, exactly the same time. As I've been waiting for things to dry, I have started on the actual missile itself, and as you can see there's not a lot to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrape clean this to clear it down and everything. We'll get a coat of primer onto it, and then also we'll paint it. This one though, we're going to paint white. It's going to be a lot brighter than the underside of this because I want a nice contrast between the weapon and the Vulcan, because again I don't want it to look like it's just a bulge underneath and all the rest of it. It wants to look what it is. There is some decals on there as well to liven this one up, so we'll do this, but really it's very straightforward. There's not a lot of point showing it. Two halves come together like this. This has got a beautiful pin right the way through which holds that all in place, and we've got the exhaust which only goes in one way on the back. We've got one up here, and obviously I haven't put the folded in aerial yet. We'll put that fin for the bottom, we'll fold that up in there in the stow position for when we're a little bit closer to the time of fitting it actually to the model. But that one goes on really well as well, and I can just show you. We've got to be careful now as we grab this, but this is a beautiful fit. I was a little bit worried, but you can see it just drops in there, no problem at all. In fact, I'm very, very impressed the way that that goes in there, because I thought for a minute it wasn't going to, but it does. It's just that these little pegs on the top, which are two extra ones that you have to put on, go in those holes, and when they do, it actually locks it into position. So well done Airfix, that's actually a really nice job on that one. So as I said, we're going to get that one cleaned up and done. I'll get these extra bits just all on here, and then next up for us we're going to do the PVA windows so we can get those set in. So we've got to do these at the top. We're going to unmask it as well to see exactly what we're going in the cockpit. If we've got to do any repairs or anything else like that, we can do that then. And then we're going to come in with some post shading, so we can use some oil washes around the wheel wells, tidy those up as well, and a few little exhaust stains and various things in there we're going to put in with some oils as we make our way through. But we need to get everything in apart from the weapon, so when we're doing all the weathering, streaking and dirt and grime and things like that, all look in place. Okay, so one area we forgot to do was these little tabs here at the top, so we've masked them up. The ones we're talking about is these. So we've got this little guy down in here, and again you've got the bit on the spine as well. So we've masked those up now, and we've just popped a little bit of masking tape around it, and we need to spray them up. Now obviously I don't have the colours for the Humbrol ones, you know, I haven't used Humbrals for donkey's years, but what we have got is a little bit of XF60. XF59 is probably the same as the little spot colour in there, but looking at them, and I've got some reference photos of the Vulcan from back in the day and stuff like that that are colour, it looks like it's lighter, it looks like it fades, so that's what we've gone with. So we've got a little bit of this here. We've got a nice clean airbrush, so we're just going to pop a little bit in here neat. Again, we're not going to need tons for this, and then we just check our spray. That's it. So usual thing, make sure it's all pushed down nice and firm and all the rest of it. So what we'll do is we'll just pick this guy up, and we're just going to come in. We'll just pop this in. Here. Okay, a couple of little coats. And there we go, that's those taken. It's a really simple job. It's one of those things, it takes longer to mask it up and sort it all out and everything else like that, and it actually does to actually do that on there. So as you can probably see, we'll let those dry on there. We've got the speed brakes all nicely attached. They're all on there like that. We've got the bottom ones on there like that, as off falls the nozzle again. So what we can do is over here, we've actually got the, if we can very gingerly lift this off. Hold on, it seems to be a little bit stuck. Hold on, it seems to be a little bit stuck here. I don't want to pull it off because we've got a tab in here. Here we go. Okay, so there's our cockpit. And to be honest, it's all looking nice, got no problems with it in there and all the rest of it. It's quite a clean, and then just naturally from the masking effect of this guy, it's cleared all of that off. So what we can do, we can undo the glass work. So what we do, I've already taken just a couple of these off just to show you, but I haven't done the rest of them. So again, we've got the centre one. Oh, we've got a little bit of overspray got through underneath. We've got the one over here, and then we've got the one in here. So we've got a little bit, hopefully you can, well, probably on the green probably shows, you can see it's a little bit foggy underneath. That's easy. So we just take a cotton bud and give it a rub, and just the abrasiveness of the cotton bud on its own will get rid of it. And there we go, we have lovely clear parts. So those windscreen wipers on there, easiest way to do those is with a Posca pen. So you've seen me use these a lot of times before. Make sure you give them a good mix to start with. And then what we can do is, this is the felt tip version. Sorry, this is the ballpoint pen version. So what we can do is now we can just come in like this and we can just do the actual windscreen wiper and we can paint it in manually just like that. So that gets around that problem of what to do with it. And again, that's both of the windscreen wipers done and sorted, so we can pop that back on, and obviously we'll glue that down in position, but hopefully you can see now that's looking very, there you go, that's looking really good in there. Happy with how it's looking. It's a bit difficult to try and show you, hopefully you might be able to see it a little bit better like that, but really is looking the part. So what we can do now, we just unmask this, and then hopefully we haven't got any overspray anywhere. And then again, just be mindful that obviously we've got decals running around on here, and I did de-tack the tape first, which, as you know, is a real simple thing. Literally placing it on the hand, give it a rub and take it off. And then this guy in the front here. And there we go. That's those taken care of. Get the camera. That's those in there just like that. So very happy of how that is, although it looks like we've just scraped a little bit of paint just off the bottom down there, but that's an easy touch up, no problem at all. So that's all looking good. So last up for today, so we leave it go off, we're going to use this stuff. So this is crystal clear. You've probably seen me do this before many times. It's one of my favourite things. Let's stick tape to everything. So all we do, we just move this back here, we grab normal cocktail stick, we grab our glue, and then again all we're going to do is we'll do this for the under light system as well. We just take a blob, we go in and we just roll it round, and we just leave it like that. And then what you can do is, if you're careful, you can just push up to the middle just to get rid of any over on there. Now it's got a little bit too thin, that's got too much on there. So what you can do is just come along with a bit more until it goes like that. So that's how we want it. We want it to be totally solid white. Again, might need a little bit more in there, but that's fine. Let's have a go on this side. But what you can do is you can just come in. That's a better one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit more on the other side. So if it's got too much on there, just push it to the middle, and there we go. So that's looking a lot better now. So that's both those windows taken care of now in there, just like that. I'll get it to lock. Come on, camera. There we go. Look at that, perfect. So what we can do is we can do the actual underside ones as well. For those ones, we'll do that as well in a moment once that's all dried, and we can go through. I've managed to bend an area off here already, but a bit of a push down there. I'm not too sure about those ones, if they are metal or if they're supposed to be white, so we'll do a little bit of checking up on them and we'll see how we go. But anyway, that is basically it. The weapon, the blue steel, which you can see, this is all done. I've been around, we've sanded and everything else like that. So what I'm going to do is give it a coat of white paint. We'll get the decals onto it. There's only a few, and then we'll weather it lightly, just a very light weathering, and we can then get it fixed on. But there we go. So far, so good. And to be honest, we're really starting to come to life now. Right, okay, so we have put together and that we have deckled, so forth and so on, the actual blue steel missile, and we've gone through the motions of it. I've given it, I was going to go with just like bright white and gloss and all the rest of it for this one, but I've decided to keep it a little bit muted. So we've given it a satin finish, but it's very, very clean, so as you can see. So it would be hanging as you see it. Don't take any notes of that, because that's going to be buried up inside. To be honest, it goes together very, very well. There's only a couple of parts anyway, but generally very nice as well. Decals all went down as well, no problem at all. Exactly the same as we did the main Vulcan. So if we flip this over, hopefully we're okay, and it will just sit down in here. This then will literally just come along and it's going to drop in just down into here. So you've got the slot, you've got the two little plugs, which are these bits on here, and to be honest, it is, there you go, a perfect fit. And I've got that nice difference in the colour, and that's actually what we wanted to have, was a little bit of difference in there. So you got the dirtiness of the Vulcan matched in with the the cleanliness, should we say, of the actual missile itself. So that's fine. You can also probably see just down in here that we've actually got the door fitted in, so that's just taking care of that one, and obviously all the bits and pieces are in there as well. One of the last things we got to do is literally just clean up and take off this part down in here. So this is for the lens, for the bombing site and observation bit. So again, hopefully, this has been on so long, I'm hoping it's going to come off, because the trouble you can find with this stuff, if it's on too long, it can be a right pain to get off, and I think it's going to do it here. So what you need to do is cut it, otherwise what's going to happen is it's going to peel it, and you run the risk of it actually peeling it all the way off. So what we're going to do is going to grab a knife, and we're just going to gently encourage it to come away from the rest of it. There we go. Okay, so we've just got this bit up here as well. Just get rid of those. And to be honest, if you do scratch it, if you see the real thing, it's scratched to hell. There we go. That's now opened up in there. So that completes that section at the front. All the parts now looking very much, oh, there we go, that obviously needs something to hold that in, so what I'll probably end up doing is a blob of blue tack just to hold that in place. Canopy work as well right the way through. I'm probably going to leave this somewhat as a loose fit. I don't think it's too bad, it fits very, very nicely, and hopefully you can see with the actual parts all taking care of it now, it's looking very, very much the part. There's those back bits that obviously we sprayed in now, looking very much on there, so trying to fit this all in. So she's still got a certain amount, catch it in the light there, glossiness to it. It's not dead flat, and obviously it is quite a difference to the underside where it's very, very grimy and dirty under here. But generally, one thing I do have to say is that the I put a couple of just shots of tack just down on here. The actual canopy and the way it all fits and it all holds and everything else in there is actually really nice. So this then can go in, and we've just got a couple of bits of tack in there for the moment, just so we can have it attached or loose. So that canopy, I don't know, I might pop in just a little bit of PVA glue, because we can obviously get in there to clean it up if needed, but from our point of view we can just pop a little bit in here, just on this back area, just to hold it in. So we can just come in with that, and we can just pop that in, and that'll be enough to hold it in situ, and that's exactly what we want down in there, just like that. And that completes our build. I was going to go in further with the weathering, but she's looking so nice, I don't want to tempt fate. It's one of those areas where it's very, very easy to go over the top with the weathering, but actually she is what she is. She's obviously sits outside all the time, so she's going to weather and she's going to get some grime on there, but we've got that in there. The underside's normally dirtier, and that's very dirty as well, but I just love it as it is, and I just don't want to go over the top with all the weathering. Normally I do, as you know, I'm a bit of a weathering guy, but this particular one I'm going to leave it somewhat as clean, just like this. But I have to say, I've absolutely loved it. Big thank you has to go to Airfix for this one. They sent me the kit. As I say, it's not very often I get freebies out of anyone these days, but definitely it was actually quite a nice surprise. And I know I've been giving Airfix absolute hell over this for the last best part of 20 years about when are they going to do a new one and all the rest of it. Anyway, they've done it and it doesn't disappoint. That's just simply say I think it lives up to all the hype of the kit, the way it goes together, the engineering, the construction, things like that. Okay, there's a little bit of, fettling and things to do with this one just to make it fit a little bit nicer. So obviously the main thing is getting the forward fuselage into the rear, taking care of that. But then again, we are modelers. Filler and test fitting and sanding is what we do. This isn't just Lego of construction. It takes a little bit of work sometimes and a little bit of patience to get that in, but I'm really happy. We've got no seam lines, no joins everywhere else. And obviously the big difference between this kit and the old kit is the way that the actual seam is in the middle here is tucked away. Most of it's underneath the spine. We've got the little section just down in here and a bit there, but trust me, I'd rather have that than having it down in these panel lines as the old fashioned one was. Trying to get those wings on and then it was awful. So it's very, very nicely done, as is obviously its recessed panel lines. The original one's raised panel lines, and for its day absolutely cutting edge, but it was very, very long in the tooth by today's standard. And again, the panel lining at the time when I first looked at this kit, I was thinking maybe a little bit heavily overdone, a little bit thick, but obviously it's limitations of tooling and kit costs and things like that. But actually in the great scheme of it, it works. It's down in there. It's very, very nice. So from that point of view, I think the actual engineering, the construction, the intakes, the nozzles, things like that, it just works. It goes together very, very nicely. And then again, obviously things like the detailing on this one with the actual, we got the vortex generators on the front here and obviously down the back, and we've got obviously the control surfaces being posable, things like that are all really nice touches that really bring it to life. It has been an absolute joy to build this one, not only because obviously it's a freebie, so obviously we're giving this out to the general public, and obviously I got a free kit out of Airfix, which is always a bonus, but generally I have to say I build usually between 12 to 15 models, full build ones like this every year. This one has been my favorite so far, and I've done some real good ones this year so far, and they've been, all of them have been great builds, but this one's just got that little bit of something. Really, really enjoyed it. It may be nostalgia, it may be because I've been wanting to do these ones for a long time, but generally I've come away with a real sense of achievement that the kit's gone together really nicely and it hasn't disappointed, and there's been no challenges right the way through. It's just generally a really nice fun build. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, join me again next time.